decisions, rule sets are a collection of business rules that all evaluate the same object. A rule set allows you to define a common set of rules that work together and are customized based on their context without the need to copy or rewrite them. Rule sets are used to group rules that are similar in nature, treat them as a single rule in execution, and then return the list of results back. We're going to create an example of a rule set for an insurance premium together. The first rule set is set up, and then we just need to set up our input data. Once this input data is defined, the data defined here can be used in any rule created within the rule set and doesn't need to be created over and over again. Now, we have our input set up, but there's also some extra setup options that we can review together as well. Under setup, we can see that there are several options. Each rule can be logical, which means it will return a true or false. Each rule can return data. However, the return type here is defined. And then each rule can also be scored and return numbers that are averaged to a score. So we can have that be custom, we can have a sum returned, a medium returned, whichever we want. Rule sets also provide choices for the run mode and how long the rules should continue running. For example, we could just run all the rules in the set, stop on the first true or the first false. There's the rule set types. The instance rule set type is the default selection and is used when there is a discrete set of rules that you run to represent some sort of decision. Template with instances is used when you want to create a base set of rules and then create specific subsets of rules that give the context or meaning. For example, this could have subsets of rules for specific states. Conditional is like templates with instances, except they allow you to create rules with a rule set within a rule set. This basically gives a base set of rules, and then based on the condition, it will run another set of rules. There's also options to include rule types other than statement rules by selecting other options. We can include flows, action tables, truth tables, matrix rules, the list goes on. By setting up the context here, each rule can easily be created by using the already defined information in our setup panel here. Since multiple rules work together in a rule set, this allows multiple individual rules to be created that are easier to understand and easier to maintain. We'll add an evaluation rule for something simple. For example, we can make one rule to be something like seeing if the person is younger than 25 years old by seeing if their birth year is greater than 1997. Once we have the name established, you see it takes us right into our familiar statement rule setup. We can pick the data that we've already defined and set up our condition just as we said. Year is greater than 1997. There, nice and simple. No extra frills here, something that we can link together with another equally simple statement rule. So let's make our next one something easy as well, like trying to evaluate if the car is 10 years or older. So is car and we can have that figured out by determining the car year to be less than or equal to 2012. You can see again that our same inputs that we defined are still available to us. Less than or equal to 2012. It's great. Nice and easy. Now, we could have an entirely complex statement rule to evaluate these specific things, younger than 25, or if the car's 10 years or older. And we could do that if we wanted to, but the beauty of the rule sets is that instead we could just use a group of simple rules that work together to evaluate this data. More rules that help determine the insurance premium can continue to be added on as much as we want and be added to this rule set to eventually create a very complex rule made up of just a bunch of individual rules. We can actually test this data if we go into the debugger, and I can show you what I mean by it returning as a list here. So I'm just going to take some time and make something really simple for us. So we can see right away that when we debug some of this test data, instead of having two individual rules, it just runs this rule set step here. And on the side, we can actually view how our individual rules evaluated. Red will show up for false and green for true. Not only can we see these individually, but when we look at the outputs for our rule set, we can see that indeed all of our data did come back to us in the form of a list, giving us our results, our runtime, etc. Overall, rule sets organize logic that is of similar nature and allow these rules to work together and be treated as a single rule in execution.